Уважаема госпожо Фандакова,
Esteemed Mrs. Fandakova, esteemed Mrs. Gabriel, Mr. Petkov, colleagues, dear guests, I'm really excited to welcome you at the conference Partnership for Change. It is part of the project Transfer of Innovative Practices. It is funded by OP Human Resources Development. It is also co-financed by the European Union through the Fund. Today and tomorrow, we'll be able to listen to the opinions of more than 40 representatives of businesses, institutions, inspiring entrepreneurs from across Europe. Thank you to our media partners from Nova Casting Group, B2B Media, CSR Bulgaria, Job Tiger. Thank you to Streamer Bulgaria, because we'll manage to get to the audience online, and online streaming will allow many people to attend and listen to this conference. Thank you also to 500 markers that will also provide for graphic recording of some of the sessions. Let me tell you something funny. We had a call from a TV last week, and they told us that there will be two important events for Monday morning. One of them is Brexit, the other one is this conference. So now let me give the floor to Jordanka Fandakova, Mayor of Sofia. Esteemed Commissioner, esteemed Minister, Mr. Volkovci, dear guests and participants in the conference on social entrepreneurship. I wish that this conference is the main positive piece of news for today. This conference is particularly important for the development of the whole society. The solutions to many of the social issues that plague the society can be found owing to two important principles. First of all, the whole public has to be engaged, it has to be involved, the civil society, businesses, institutions, also the use of innovation and the digital technology. When it comes to such solutions, this is what we understand, and this is that is why we have united our efforts in order to solve social challenges in this way. We have a lot of positive energy and developments in Sofia over the last couple of years. We also have a lot of successful practices. We hope that many of them will be shared during these 2 days of the conference. We understand well enough that social issues are issues of the whole society, and we can solve them only if we do it together. We have to be actively involved, and we cannot just expect to do it by raising donations around Christmas. We need to have consistent effort and sustainable policies. This joint understanding united, brought together many organizations in the expert council that we set up with Sofia municipality. Let me express my gratitude to these responsible socially motivated civil society organizations that are very active, that have a lot of expertise. They're eager to find together solutions. About a year ago, we brought together these organizations. We joined our effort and we achieved good results because the overall policy of the municipality is evaluated and is adopted at such sessions together with the civil society sector and the institutions. We're glad that we have more entrepreneurs that have joined on board. The policy of Sofia City Municipality to support disadvantaged groups of the public and create opportunities for the inclusion in various activities by means of education for children as well as adults, but also by means of including them in economic and social life and creating opportunities for their achievement. We have set up several tools in the last couple of years. We have social enterprises. I'm really proud of them. Luzana, a social municipal enterprise, has provided jobs to 28 persons. They are employed by Lausanne Municipal Social Enterprise at the printing house, at the package workshop. This is just an example for the other entrepreneurs that it is possible and that we can find support. We have been supported a lot by the Ministry of Social Policy and Labor, by the Agency for Support of Disadvantaged People. We have developed several financial tools over the years. The first one was the program Europe. I believe that the members of the audience are well aware of this program. We have managed to fund a lot of interesting projects via this program. They were aimed at addressing these important issues. Mr. Volkovsky knows very well that we have had already two events, two projects that help address this issue. However, we have been developing new programs. The latest one is a social innovation program. This program was discussed and adopted by the expert council. It is targeted at entrepreneurs that might be supported from the budget of Sofia City Municipality. This is a pilot program. It will be launched as of the 1st of January. Everyone will be able to submit project proposals within the first 3 months. The budget of the program is 100,000 euro for 100,000 Bulgarian leva for 2019. And when a good program is launched and it develops well, we'll be able to raise a bigger budget or we'll be able to introduce changes to the program. Third, let me also mention the opportunities that we get by providing space and opportunities for partnership with all civil society organizations that might be interested. The latest space that we have created is in a municipal public library. It is a space for innovation. Everyone is welcome. It is very important for all of us to share experience, to listen to good practices. That is why I'm glad that this conference has set itself this goal. My colleagues will be here during these 2 days. They'll be able to share, but also they will be able to listen to good practices from across Europe. With many of these partners, we have been actively working together. All of these social challenges, they can be solved only if we join our effort. Thank you very much to European Commissioner Maria Gabriel. With her enthusiasm, she has managed to bring us together and to inspire us to involve and engage young people with digital technology. She also has the financial tools available for that purpose, so that together we can continue. It is only in this way, by active involvement of people, that we can achieve success, also with the strong support of businesses. We have still quite modest participation of businesses, but I believe that Sofia has the energy to do that. We can feel it, we can see this energy, and we can see the results. So I wish good luck to the conference.
Благодаря.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Fandakova, that you put the stress on joint efforts. Now I'm giving the floor to Mrs. Maria Gabriel, Euro Commissioner on Digital Economy and Society. Thank you very much, Mrs. Fandakova, Minister, Mr. Volkov, dear organizers, ladies and gentlemen, participants in the International Conference Partnership for Change. First, I would like to congratulate the organizers for this very timely event. I'm grateful that you have put in the very focus of these two-day discussions one of our most important values, partnership. Partnership is a value which allows us to work for a more just social economy where inequalities are not so pronounced, something that helps us to respond in a very specific way to social, economic, and environmental challenges. And that's the big power of social entrepreneurship. By asking the right questions, the questions that citizens ask themselves on a daily basis, and provide answers, not only by providing answers, but also by providing jobs. Because thanks to this, we can work for better involvement in all processes. Very often, social entrepreneurship is underestimated, but numbers speak for themselves. In Europe, there are 2 million enterprises in the social economy, which is 10% of the all business in Europe. 11 million people are involved in social economy, which is 6% of all the employees. Very often, social entrepreneurship is, as I said, underestimated or outdated, but it is not true. Let's take the example of corporate funding, which was around 150 years ago through the cooperatives. Today, young and not so young entrepreneurs create their own platforms. And only when we say platform, we show that we are very much in pace with time. And that's what I will start by. When creating a platform, it is important to set clear rules. We, as European Commission, and I'm very happy to say that we were the first to propose social rules. We put the stress on transparency, on the need for a mechanism which will allow small and middle-sized entrepreneurs protect their rights. Negotiations with the Parliament and the Council are ongoing in a positive way. I propose that you support the platform that we created just a month ago. There is a possibility for monitoring so that the actions of the European Commission are adequate. We are all clear that on the one hand, we would like to preserve the capacity of platforms to create innovations, growth, new services. But on the other hand, our European approach is to provide just a competitive environment where today's young will be the tomorrow's European champions. It is very important, of course, to know what the access to capital is, because there is a need to exceed the capital, create networks, and provide a service that will serve the whole society. So, to the first question, what is there in the European Union right now? Well, there are four main initiatives. On the one hand, we have the Employment and Social Innovation Program, 1 billion euro for a period of 7 years. The focus falls on the young people. Then the Accelerator for Social Impact, another instrument with the focus on social enterprises completely. In the current Horizon 2020 program, there is another mechanism for innovative enterprises, 2.8 billion euro, and every euro will attract additional contributions. 1.3 billion are dedicated to attracting new funds. And just a month ago, Bulgaria and Sofia was selected to be the host of the annual meeting of startups, which shows that Sofia is a real innovative hub. During this meeting, we created 2 networks for centers and hubs. I really believe that young people, social entrepreneurs, will take advantage of all these opportunities. For startups, it's very important to exchange best practice, to create networks and exceed capital. Through becoming part of Startup Europe initiative, they will have access to these two opportunities, including the Western Balkan countries who are still not members of the EU. That's what we have right now. However, I would like that we continue looking into the future, understanding that we have a digital future which is starting right now and right here. That's why I'm happy that I enjoy such a huge support. And in the next programming period, 21-27, to have a new Digital Europe program with a budget of 9 billion euro. In this program, I would like to focus on two things. Firstly, support for digital innovative hubs. This is something that social entrepreneurs should take better advantage, in my opinion. I think that by 2020, it will be good, 2021, to have such hubs in every part of Europe. The current budget for digitalization of industry is 5. I'm really proud that Bulgaria created 3 innovative hubs, 2 in Sofia, 1 in the city of Varna. We are working with other areas as well. Digital innovative hubs are the places where social entrepreneurs can exceed information. Our motto is test before invest. We all know how important it is to be aware of the product and the market for this product. So the business model that we want to offer, we would not like it to fail in 3 months, 3 months later. Be successful from the beginning. And the digital innovative hubs are these places where information can be received, where answers can be found to the funding, the market niches. And the second component, digital innovative hubs provide opportunities to social entrepreneurs for the delivery of training to people who would after that implement projects. Here we have the second important challenge. Yes, access to capital is a main element. But just as important or even more important is are the people with the necessary skills. That is the need for more digital knowledge and digital skills. That's why one of my most important priorities is this, and we will provide the digital innovative hubs with this, that is to provide local people with capacities that they can provide on the local level. In the Digital Euro program, there will be more than 700 million euro for such skills. Today, only 37% of our workforce possesses digital skills, but we know that 90% will be needed. Today, we are still lacking more than 350,000 such experts. That's why it is important to see more and more initiatives in this direction on all levels, starting with the local, regional, national, and European. As European Commission, we have several key projects. For example, the Digital Opportunity program, which will allow more than 6,000 students until 2020 to go to internships in the area of new technologies. For 3 months only, more than 900 students have been able to find such internships in the area of new technologies. So when we compare our plan until 2020 and what we have already achieved, we in fact have more than 45% of implementation. The budget is small, only 10 million euro, but we would like to have this project as a success story, so it becomes a part of the next budget. Another project is the European Commission for Digital Skills that involves 23 coalitions, and the Bulgarian is very active one. Their public and private, the public and private sector, the media, and the civil society can meet this need for more training for citizens, not only for young people, but for also the more experienced one. The ambition for this coalition was to provide training to more than 1 million Europeans. Latest figures tell us that we have done this for more than 10 million citizens, which shows that we can always overperform if we want to. And last initiative, the European Programming Week, social entrepreneurs were very active. This year was a record, more than 40,000 events. We're still waiting for the last figures, but participants were more than 200 million, 2 million. So I would like to encourage you all to pay attention to this topic, not only during these couple of weeks, but throughout the years. Something else that I consider important is cybersecurity. We don't think sufficiently about it, but today more than 70% of European companies, including social entrepreneurs, tell that they don't know whether they have not been subjected to cyber attacks. But we have to pay attention to this, because cyber attack is not only private data, it is also connected with critical infrastructure as healthcare, education, transport, energy, it will be very important to continue working in this area. Yes, legislative proposals are moving forward. The ENISA agency will be enhanced, thus allowing even also social enterprises to use their expertise to detect vulnerabilities and organize trainings. In the next programming period, we would like to also create an European Cyber Center, which will manage the funds under Horizon 2020 funds and Digital Europe program, allowing to respond to the challenges through direct contact. And in this very context, although I'm sometimes criticized that I pay also attention not only to legal but to non-legal informal measures, but we have this campaign, Safer Internet for You. Please pay attention to it. Social entrepreneurs are very active, and we would all like to have a safer internet for our kids, and not only for our children, but also for the teachers, for the school children. More than 15,000 schools are already part of this campaign. More than 15 million European citizens use the free documents provided on the platform called Better Internet for Kids. There you have access to these free documents in order to learn what it all means about. Thus, we will not allow cyber attacks, which become more and more sophisticated, to quickly fail us over seconds. These are some of the most important initiatives and programs that the European Commission provides for social entrepreneurs. I would like to underline that this topic, the topic of your conference, is the key to the successful handling of these challenges. I would like to greet and congratulate all 9 countries participating in this conference, and to wish you lots of energy, lots of power to promote all these programs and projects, and also to inspire many more, so that we are able to challenge, to handle successfully digital challenges. Social entrepreneurship has a very important place in our societies. So once again, I'm grateful to the organizers that once again they allow us to find best answers and response to the challenges. Thank you.
Благодаря много на госпожа Габриел за толкова много.
Thank you, Mrs. Gabriela, for so many opportunities and optimism. We also learned that Europe supports the social entrepreneurs. Now I would like to give the floor to Mr. Bisser Petkov, Minister of Labor and Social Policy. Thank you, Mr. Good morning, everyone. Esteemed Euro Commissioner, esteemed Mayor of Sofia Municipality, esteemed ladies and gentlemen, I have the pleasure to welcome you with this conference, a partnership for change. The fact that we have so many representatives of institutions of partnership networks, social entrepreneurs, it allows me it helps me feel really happy with this radical, large-scale change. We hope to be able to develop in the future in order to achieve greater solidarity and justice. Bulgaria, once again, especially this year when Bulgaria held the presidency of the Council of the European Union, is a host with regard to social entrepreneurship. Let me just remind you that in April, during the Bulgarian presidency, a conference was held. It was devoted to social entrepreneurship and social economy. Social innovations are very important for the development of social economy and social entrepreneurship. They enable us to solve social challenges in an innovative way. However, without shared responsibility, without a joint effort, the real and efficient results would distant from the public. That is why the Ministry of Labor and Social Policy supports activities and initiatives that might have impact on decision-making and on policy setting in order to improve better and provide for better conditions of life for certain disadvantaged groups. Our support has to do with creating conditions for social entrepreneurs to develop their potential. Let me share how happy I am that Bulgaria has its legal framework for social enterprises. The National Assembly voted on the 18th of October this year a law on social enterprises. It has been promulgated by the State Gazette. It is already in force. This specialized legal act provides for a legal framework for social enterprises and social entrepreneurs in Bulgaria. It will help us push forward this activity. In addition, the 2-year development plans for social entrepreneurship have identified measures and have set up for a cooperation mechanism. We also have an annual award to support the social economy. We are guided by our understanding of the important role of local authorities. That is why we would like to create partnerships between local authorities, social enterprises and businesses in the regions. We also have good cooperation with Sofia Municipality with regards to social entrepreneurship. The representatives of the institutions are open for actions together with the member states of the European Union. Our the fact that we have a European commissioner, also the mayor of the largest Bulgarian municipality, who have attended this conference shows clearly how important this partnership is. I believe that this conference is very important in order to continue the good dialogue established between local authorities, social enterprises, and all the other stakeholders. Sharing a good experience will help us look for new ideas, set up networks of followers and supporters. The topic of the conference is definitely suitable, and I congratulate the organizers for choosing it. I believe that we'll have important recommendations made today with regard to partnership models. I believe that we'll find new ways how to retain and to further develop what has already been achieved. In conclusion, I wish to all of you a professional success. I hope that everything that has been shared during this conference will help you become aware of your personal as well as the social responsibility to set up more successful partnerships. Thank you.
Благодаря на министър Петков.
Thank you, Minister Petkov, not only for what you have said, but also for everything that the ministry has been doing. Over the last year, it is very clear that there are more efforts involved in social entrepreneurship. Now I'll pass the floor to Elisa Belobradova, the co-founder of Ole Male, an initiative in support of mothers of children with disabilities. Good morning. Good morning to everyone who's here for this very important conference. I'm very grateful to the Foundation Reach for Change that allowed me to speak in front of you. Our foundation, Ole Male, has been awarded for 2018. It unites the work of more than 60 mothers from all over Bulgaria. You will be able to buy something beautiful because of some holiday. And from here, I would like to share that social entrepreneurship is possible. Not only that it is possible, but it can be very successful if we work closely with the institutions on the national and local level. The backbone of our activities are our private customers and companies. Everyone who wants to buy things produced by mothers of people with disabilities. And when I mean cooperation with institutions, I do not mean what Mrs. Gabriel mentioned as access to capital. Not that this is bad, but sometimes there are some even more important things that can be unexpectedly easy in terms of mechanism, but are still problematic for us. 2 days ago, when we were packaging the things made by the mothers, we spoke about how wonderful it would be to work in a different premise, not underground, have windows, not breathing dust all the time. And I'm telling you this not because I'm complaining, but because every project that participated in the program called The Change or Promianata is not an easy thing. We just want to work in a better way, in a more efficient way. What we understand by this, this is to make us more efficient, stronger, and this means all institutions on all levels. Social entrepreneurship is very difficult. It's a real challenge, but we will continue operating. And I will give you an example. For example, to have access to premises with a normal rent rate close to underground stations, so that mothers of children with disability have easy access to these premises. Have windows, also get more assistance from the administration, from all ministries and their employees, because sometimes we are afraid of being fined. Sometimes very little is needed in order to achieve good results. Very little is needed to be present at the market and continue operating. And when the state in it and its institutions are not an enemy that make us stay awake at night and wonder what will happen on the next day. We learn by the day, and we do make mistakes. We have to accept this, but it is only because we work a lot. The Reach for Change Foundation helped us avoid some mistakes, but practice is the best teacher, and we cannot do it without cooperation from the state and the state institutions. The chairperson of our foundation asks me always for one and the same thing, to tell the personal story of one of the mothers who works with us. I have not done this. I always try to do it, but I have not been able to do it until now. I don't know how to tell the personal story of a mother of a child with ability to show you how difficult it is to work over the night when your child is suffering, how difficult it is to not being able to walk your child because of the bad infrastructure, and how much effort you need in order to put every to fill every free second with work. And why I'm not telling personal stories? Well, because our project, the idea behind our project is that we all these mothers, we don't want to tell our personal stories. We just want to have one of these common, everyday, boring lives without problems, without stories that will put tears in your eyes. Just normal life. And that's what Ole Male Foundation is, to not tell personal sad stories. And thank you very much. We promise that we'll soon learn to work better, and hopefully one day the Christmas tree in the center of Sofia will be decorated with toys made by the Ole Male Foundation. Thank you very much.
Благодаря на Елисавета, че беше.
I thank you, Elisaveta, for being the voice of social entrepreneurs, because it's really important to listen to these stories. They sometimes rank personal, but they are part of the lives of these people who create a social economy. Thank you very much, Elisaveta. Now I would like to give the floor to Mrs. Tatiana Burmistrova, Regional Director for Central Europe and Kazakhstan of Reach for Change. You have the floor.
Доброе утро, дамы и господа. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry, I can say only a few words in Bulgarian. I'm so happy to open the conference on behalf of Reach for Change today in Sofia. It was a long journey for all team to get here from the beginning of 2014, when I first time came to Bulgaria to meet with the Nova Broadcasting Group. And after 4 years of developing partnership, we have achieved together outstanding results. And I shall to add that the partnership with Nova Broadcasting Group by itself is outstanding as well. Reach for Change is an international non-profit organization based in Sweden. Our mission is unleashing the power of social entrepreneurship to create a better world for children. In partnership with Social Responsible Business, we support early-stage social enterprises in 3 continents in 18 markets. It means almost 6. What's happened? Sorry. Okay, that's. I mentioned 18 markets, so we really made footprints in 18 markets. Now we are in 15 markets, but we did a great job to develop ecosystem in all 18 markets. Well, so we support now, this year, almost 600 entrepreneurs who support more than 1 million children worldwide. Today and tomorrow, we will meet with social entrepreneurs from Bulgaria, Lithuania, Sweden, Denmark. Some of them are alumni, some of them still in our incubator program. And we call them change leaders because they create change. They bring social innovations for social impact and system change. They are working to achieve sustainable development goals. Despite on cultural diversities and different ecosystem in their markets, our change leaders struggled with the same problems at the beginning. They will need knowledge, skills, promotion, recognition, and funding, of course. And to support early stage social enterprise is a venture philanthropy. And it means we take a risk. And we take risk together with our partners who trust our expertise. And I'm so proud that we built together with Nova Broadcasting Group the brand. So Pramanata is quite recognizable now in Bulgaria. And I'm so proud that now we have more partners in this country. It's not only Nova, and that's a great success. So we believe that only chance to create a better world for kids is partnership. And Reach for Change this year hold a series of events devoted to partnering for change. So we started, of course, in Stockholm. Then we had an event in Croatia, then in Kazakhstan, and now we have this huge conference in Bulgaria. I shall tell you that more than 250 people have been registered to this conference, and it's shown us a huge interest to the topic. And I really hope that all participants will find an answer for your questions, and that all participants will be inspired by great examples and by great speakers. Thank you for coming. You're really welcome. And I wish all of us good luck and very productive days. Удачи. Спасибо.
Благодаря много. С това приключихме официалното.
Thank you very much. This was the end of the official opening of the conference, and now I would like to once again thank for this opening and ask the members of the first panel to take the seats at the stage. Thank you.
Заповядай, не сме. по програмата. Аз мисля, че може да започваме.
I think that we are ready to start. I'm very happy that many big part of the audience is still here, although the public figures already left. But we are grateful to the minister who is still here. Now I'm going to give the floor first to Miss Sofia Breitholtz, and then we'll follow the agenda. Our request was for all panelists to start with brief introductions, and then we'll have time for in-panel discussion and discussion with the audience. Ms. Breitholtz, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everybody. Honorable Minister, Commissioner, Mayor, and distinguished guests that we have today. I'm really happy and pleased to be here from Sweden, Reach for Change global organization, to share with you a little bit about our experiences about building the ecosystem for social entrepreneurs across the world, and particularly also in Bulgaria here. First, I'd like to show you a little bit of an introductory video to who we are at Reach for Change. So we heard in the beginning the commissioner who was also talking about test before invest. And we see that when we are supporting social entrepreneurs across all our 18 markets, what they need in order to develop their market-oriented solutions is a lot of support and capacity building in the beginning. And that's the kind of support that Reach for Change provides, but also that is critical to provide in partnership together with corporates and together with institutions and foundations such as we have today. Why do we work on social entrepreneurs? Why do we see that social entrepreneurship is a method to really develop one of our most key critical resources that we have today, which is our children and young people, which is the future? We see that social entrepreneurs have a unique way of approaching a problem. They have a unique method of actually tackling that challenge and that problem with innovation and with another approach. They often have an understanding of the target group, which is quite distinct, and they can develop models which are quite sustainable and that can actually tackle and scale the solutions that they're working on. So we support Reach for Change not only in finding these early stage entrepreneurs, and as Tanya was saying in the beginning, that is quite important in terms of finding role models and giving best practice examples. And also our entrepreneurs, more than 600 entrepreneurs across the world, often say that it's because somebody believes in them that they dare to be able to proceed and continue with their innovation. But at that point, we also see that the entrepreneurs need an investment. They not only need financial investment, but they need capacity building. And that is what we provide in our programs to be able to get our entrepreneurs to scale and to actually have sustainable, viable solutions. So capacity building, seed funding, network, and stamp of approval is quite important. And network is something that we can deliver together with Nova and our partners. We can also deliver an outreach for our entrepreneurs, which really enables them to become the role models that we want them to be. We also see trends, and I think we heard this in the morning's opening session, not only with municipalities investing in this area, not only in the European Commission investing in this area, but we see that there is other investment coming also from corporates who are socially responsible, but other institutions and capital that is going into this area. What have we learned from these years in terms of when we're partnering? Because it's easy to talk about partnership, but it's one thing to admit that there are challenges across the way when you're speaking different languages. So we have some key insights. We know that it's very important very early on in the partnerships to define that we have the same goal in mind. What impact do we want to reach? What children do we want to reach? What young people do we want to reach? How do we want the growth to look like? It's quite important that we're speaking the same language and that we are able to set these goals and targets together. We also really need to leverage the strength from the different sectors that we have. If I can use our partnership with Nova as an example, the strength of your media outreach, your capacity to storytell, and your ability to reach a large group of people is something that we can leverage on and bring our skills of actually impact-driven growth and supporting social entrepreneurs with concrete tools and methods. So once we've defined that early on, we can leverage and build and become stronger in the partnership. It's quite key, as I said, that we have the same metrics, that we have the same kind of KPIs and targets, and that we actually measure what we say we're going to do. Because as we know, what gets measured also gets done. And finally, I think that this is a great example also in Bulgaria, and when Tatiana in the beginning of the session spoke about that we've been partnering together since 2014, we see that the investment is long-term. Making an investment in social change does not bring results tomorrow. You really have to be in this in the long term, and it's important that the partnership really identifies and sees this quite early on. So finally, I just want to end on a note of where we want to go going forward and how we want to continue. And I bring one example which Reach for Change as a global organization is working on, and that is that we have seen that we have supported these over 600 social entrepreneurs across 18 countries. We have impacted positively 4.4 million children and young adults across the world. And the next thing about having supported them early on is how can we get these entrepreneurs to grow even further? The commissioner was speaking about some of the hurdles with access to capital. We also heard Ole Male speaking of some of the challenges that they face. And I think we're going to hear more here from LabGuide and all of our fantastic entrepreneurs. But what we see is that if we can build programs where we actually leverage the different networks and bring our entrepreneurs together to scale them even further, then we will also have a super strength that we can leverage. And this is an example of such a program that we are looking to launch, which is actually, I'm sorry the commissioner is not here, but it's on her table. It's actually bridging the digital divide of inequality that's on the rise. When we see digitalization, we don't want certain groups to be left behind. So we want to look for entrepreneurs that are tackling this and to help them scale even further. So it's an example of how we can also work in partnership, but also across markets to diffuse one innovation from one market to another, which is also quite critical when we want to scale entrepreneurship as a sector. So thank you for having me today, and I look forward also to answering your questions later.
Благодаря. Благодаря, София, и особено за...
Thank you very much, Sofia, for everything you told us about the insights from partnerships. And now I'll be happy to hear Mrs. Zourleva about her thoughts on all these issues.
Good morning, everyone. Let me address you just in brief, because I believe that the users of the services of the change, they are the people who have to talk at this conference. 5 years ago, we started this cooperation between Nova Group and Reach for Change, we hardly could imagine the results that we might achieve together, and what difference we would make for many people. I have to say that I wasn't that positive, I wasn't that optimistic. Right now, we are at the stage where we are faced by much larger challenges. With every new year, we set ourselves new goals, and we have to achieve something in addition to what we have already done. The most valuable thing about this partnership, about this cooperation, is the feeling of pride as a representative of Nova Television. As you know, the television is the most widespread medium. It reaches so many people. So when a positive example is disseminated by the television, it makes a much greater difference in order to reach people. In this sense, we are really proud. More than 60 people, my colleagues, they are involved in this initiative as mentors, as people who provide advice, who also exchange experience. We are a television company that was set up in the 90s, and my people, they do it free of charge. They do it in order to help. They're really enthusiastic about that. And we find it really useful when our commission has its sessions, and when we have to decide how to allocate our grants. We are really excited in such moments because we feel that we have done something good. We know that our efforts were not in vain. We put in a lot of effort in order to create a TV show, a TV program, and sometimes what we achieve is not what we have expected. And this is something normal. I mean, television is something that goes on for 24/7. So obviously not everything will be good. But when it comes to change, it is really good that our efforts have made a difference. I wish for our cooperation to continue eternally, because this is something good for our colleagues. This is what makes us feel proud. I'm a person who avoids using trite expressions and cliches. I work in such an environment that is full of cliches recently. I'm ready to answer your questions. When you do good, you actually bring a lot of good to the world, and we couldn't expect that we would achieve that with our initiatives. One of the first projects was a tea house that was set up in the city of Varna. And Ole Male, the project that was presented a little bit ago, was also one of the latest examples. And all these projects, they make us feel really proud. In a world where we hear a lot about business, money, and technology, the very feeling of doing something hands-on, doing something that is good, in essence, it just exhilarates. Thank you very much. I wish you good luck in everything that you do. Thank you, Mrs. Zourleva, for this positive attitude. It is a good, positive example of a partnership. Now, I would like to invite Nicoleta, because she's a social entrepreneur, and she might also share how she regards this issue of partnership. Thank you very much. Yes, I'm Nicoleta. I'm the founder of Love Guide. It is a platform for sexual and healthy education of mainstream teenagers from across the country. Mainstream teenagers is the term that we refer to average teenagers across the country. Why did we do this platform? We wanted to solve a huge social issue 3 years ago when we started this platform. Unfortunately, this issue has been neglected a lot. The fact that we rank all negative statistics with regard to sexual health of young people. Why? Because Bulgarian schools do not provide any sexual education classes. They will not provide in the future as well, just like other countries do it, such as Sweden, the Netherlands. And in Bulgaria, such topics are basically swept under the carpet. Sex is a taboo topic. Now, let me share with you statistical data. I hope that you can see them on the slide. Unfortunately, we are first in terms of teen pregnancy in Europe, and this is not just about members of certain minority groups and ethnic groups. These are average teenagers in Bulgaria. Why? Because they do not know how to protect themselves, because they do not have the right information. They do not know that this is important. We have huge issues with sexually transmitted infections, with sexual violence. What we have started 3 years ago is just to provide information to children online and offline. We do it in a simple, user-friendly way, and we provide advice in a positive or friendly manner so that they might be aware. We started by providing online resources. Then we saw that children, parents, and teachers, they have recognized the need of sexual why we started having such classes in school during the school activities. And everyone appreciated our activity, but they requested us to also post videos. That is why we set up a YouTube channel. We have more than 150 videos prepared related to changes changes in puberty, everything about safe sex, the use of condoms. These are the statistical data that we have. Over 23,000 subscribers in YouTube. And we have a lot more views than our subscribers. Still, many people prefer to watch such videos anonymously instead of subscribing to them. What about our business model? We are called a social entrepreneur or a social startup, but it is true that so far we have not found the sustainable model that might be working for us. We are a hybrid entity. We have the status of an NGO. We are 50% funded by programs, by projects, and 50% from corporate partnerships. Corporate social responsibility on behalf of different companies. So what do we do with our partners? The first ones who believed us and who invested in us were the people from Reach for Change. We didn't even have a name at the time. We have been working together for 4 years. Apart from financial support, they also invest a lot of time and effort to provoke us, to help us. When it comes to institutions, ministries and municipalities, it's very difficult for us to work with them because this issue has not been recognized as important. We are used to working with foundations, with funds, because they recognize without any difficulties the impact, the need for what we do. We have worked with almost everyone in Bulgaria as well as outside Bulgaria. what we have been trying for a couple of years is to also cooperate with businesses. We have also successful partnerships with brands and trademarks. They recognize the cost, they recognize the impact. They're not necessarily interested in showing their logo. They do not want us to put their logo everywhere, so they invest in us. And this is something really valuable for us because we have created a good, safe, protected space, and this is very important for us in order to keep the trust of children. We have even turned down business partners that wanted to promote their products in our YouTube channel. They wanted us to promote their product as the best peel on the market, and we couldn't do that. We couldn't jeopardize our name. So Elisaveta and Sofia have already addressed the fact that we need certain types of partners. Let me just mention the issue of budget and finance. We established that we are in limbo this autumn because we have a project. It is definitely a project that has achieved a lot, but we're not that big. So businesses businesses such as investors or business angels, they look for results. While we, our main purpose is to achieve a social change and only then be a business. It is very important for us to bring on the message that businesses should change their attitude when they work with social entrepreneurs. We qualify under some of the EU programs, but we have not taken part in them so far because we are really small. Big budgets are provided, but a lot of the funding has to be a lot of the funding is reimbursed after the end of the project, but it means that you need to have a startup capital of about 200,000 Bulgarian leva. We like the system that has been provided by Reach for Change because they have facilitated everything in terms of bureaucracy and administration. Also, funding is not provided at the end of the project only. You will ask me to talk about motivation and inspiration, and I have to say that we wake up every morning with thousands of questions in our emails, in our messenger, on YouTube, or on Instagram, and they have been sent by thousands of adolescents and young people. We try to answer all these questions. We also refer some of the young people to doctors, physicians, psychologists, and receive feedback from them every day. Thank you very much. Now I know better. Now I feel greater confidence. It is really good that you are there on the market, and this is what motivates us to keep on going. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicoletta, for inspiring us. I already have some questions for her. It is good that we are already able to shape specific needs and features of this ecosystem. But before we continue with the discussion, we have a very interesting example from Sweden. Christian Lundqvist, one of the first projects supported by Reach for Change. In the beginning of their work, I remember their project from the very beginning. We started here in Bulgaria. They were one of the best examples which we would show during presentations in our country. We would like to learn more about the evolution of this project by Christian.
Thank you very much. Thanks for inviting us. Thank you, organizers. So I'm Christian, CEO and co-founder of GrowPlay from Stockholm. As you said, one of the first actually alumnus from Reach for Change. And we work with play, and that's fantastic. So how many of you in here are playing games? Not more than that. So what is a game really, or what is playing? Well, there's a bigger discussion, but a lot of people play games and play just for the fun of it today. And we want to leverage on that and actually use play as a way of learning and improve learning about sustainable issues. So we have had a bump, not maybe a bumpy road, but a pivoting road, as you should have as a startup. So we're a for-profit company, and we started actually by developing jigsaw puzzles back in the days, in 2010 already, board games. Then we moved over into the digital area in 2013, starting developing digital games for various reasons. First of all, we love digital, but also we can reach so many more people and create a greater impact. And then, which I will talk about mostly in this presentation, now we've actually moved into pure education. So from a consumer segment into education, targeting schools fully. What we're developing now is a platform for kindergarten to third grade, and it's a game-based solution to learn more about ecological sustainability. So why is education important? Well, it's not only important to teach about these issues, but it's the foundation of change. We can talk a lot about democracy, maybe we'll do that later on today, but people need to be educated to be able to think for themselves, to be critical individuals. So education is really crucial. And it's also critical to make education equal or at least accessible for people, which we heard about before. So it's a really important area and one of the most important, I would say, goals from the UN goals. So we have identified two major problems in schools. And the first one is that phenomenon-based education is really hard. And phenomenon-based education means problem-based or contextual education, which ecological systems often are. It's not like learning English. It's pretty straightforward. Learning about farming or air pollution is quite complex. And you do that already in early childhood. You should do that according to most curriculums in the world. And also, it's really, all teachers that we talk to really prioritize or think sustainability issues are important, but they don't really have the time to do it properly in schools. And this varies, of course, across the world and between schools in Sweden or in Bulgaria or elsewhere. So we're trying to address these issues to give teachers and kids better opportunities to learn this in a fun and engaging way. So we're using the planet in this service as the scene because the planet is the place that sets conditions for science, and it's the place where we're at, that we need to take care about. And we adapt this into a digital game environment, which is called Grow Planet. And in this context, we address kind of two. We look at this from two angles. The first one is the sustainability angle, which are really powerful stories to engage and drive interest and learning. And we tie it, for instance, farming or recycling or biodiversity. Pretty tough subjects to address, but you can really create engaging stories. And teachers, great teachers are great storytellers. They are good at motivating and finding, what kids want to engage with and what they want to involve in. And then we tie in the different subjects, and we focus on STEAM, which is science, technology. Let's see if I get this right. Science, technology, engineering. Yeah, it says. I should know this. And the A in STEAM is art. So it used to be called STEM, and now it's STEAM. For those who know about this area. And so, yeah, sorry. Maybe we could have a movie clip ready to just show some in-game environments.
Just a moment.
Sure. So basically,
It's your video.
Yeah, I see it now. So you start off in a training camp and then you get sent to different challenges in different parts of the world. And this specific one is about farming. And in this world, you get to meet people, you get to experiment and try things and see if they work. There's no right and wrong in that sense. Here you have a construction area where you actually get to construct and design things and then test them out in the virtual world. This is actually a compost pile for those, and that's the compost. So these are also filled with micro lectures like Khan Academy, if you're familiar with that. You also have time to reflect in terms of well, quizzes or exams. This specific case is about. This problem is about getting across the bridge to get hold of fertilizers for the farming. And you get actually to build the bridge and see if it works. And if it works, you could actually access the area. So in this way, we get kids to engage in a story and to collaborate both in the game and also in real life. So I'll just show you in a minute. The model. It's not a screen solution. This is a blended learning solution because in the end teachers know how to teach and we just want to give them the tools to work in a mixed environment. And this is called blended learning in educational lingo. Oh, okay, so I'll show it to you here. So the game part is the campfire, if you may. But then the teacher has the option to create real-world experiences, going on excursions. We support with lesson plans to make this kind of course, if you may, easier to execute. The business model is based on subscriptions. But here it's interesting to reflect on possible partnerships because we have some examples I'll show you in a minute about companies or corporations that actually support these initiatives. So on emerging markets or developing markets, we could very well partner with someone who wants to finance and make this accessible for many people. Because this is a multi-channel solution, it's a very low-cost solution per user. So for us or our partners, it's not a big cost to reach many students and many teachers. So speaking about collaborations, our story is basically this in terms of incubators and accelerators. We start off with Reach for Change. Then a couple of years later, we grew and we were mature enough to enter an acceleration program, which in this case was STING, Stockholm Innovation and Growth, which is also a kind of hybrid between the city of Stockholm, businesses, academia. So these hubs that are popping up now all over the place are really important and interesting. And hopefully in the future we will be able to pay back and support the new ones coming up. And just lately, last year, we entered this X-Edu acceleration program in Finland with our education model. And that one is also an interesting one because it's a really profile one. It's a really niche acceleration program targeting education. And that could be, one of our experiences is that depending on what stage you're in, you need to be clever in choosing what hub or what context to engage in. Reach for Change was great for us because that was in the beginning, so we had many basic lessons to learn. Then when you grow bigger and get more experienced, you don't need those basic insights maybe, then you need something else. So those of you who are thinking about entering one of these programs, think twice about what you actually need, just not run for it if you get the opportunity. Also a couple of reflections about governmental collaborations. We've been involved in an EU project a couple of years ago, and I think there are so many interesting initiatives going on there, Horizon 2020 and so on. Our learning from that is actually connected to the Vinnova case next to it, which is the Swedish Agency of Innovation. And I think the EU has to learn a bit from the local branches. I don't know much about Bulgaria, but Vinnova in Sweden have been used to be a quite bureaucratic entity, if you may. And during the last 10 years, they've really made the process more swift and quick to apply, the evaluation process, which saves money and time for me and also for themselves. So you have a qualification process which is much more. Doing it, I don't know, how many of you have done an EU application in here? Okay. Then you know, I think it's getting better, but I think it's a really tough job. And being an entrepreneur with very little resources, you don't have time to spend weeks or months on an application which has a 5% probability to go through. So I think once we get these application processes and qualification processes quicker and swifter, it will benefit everybody, basically. Quick word on the existing collaborations in terms of education. We are a for-profit company, so we need profit. We don't need profit. We need reach even. No, what's it called again? Break even. I'm too much in the reach mode. Yeah, we need break even at least. So we really need to be on a commercial market in this case. So these two platforms, Skolon and Real Good Stuff, are marketplaces for schools. So they are in a way partners for us, such as App Store and Google Play, but not like partners that they invest in us or a close relation, but nevertheless very important partners. Then we also have an educational network with a accelerator to the left, and then we have a test bed, which in this case is edtech's Southeast Sweden. And these test beds are really important because you need to test before you invest, and then you have to have traction. And it's kind of hard to do testing and could be expensive. So please look into possible collaborators when it comes to testing and test beds as well. And that also benefits teachers because they want to know what's going on out there, what are the new solutions or the maybe future solutions if we succeed, that is. And they will also work with the Swedish edtech industry, which is basically public opinion and lobbying, if you may, to drive these issues. And I'm going to end with a couple of commercial collaborations, which I think you should, yeah. So this one is a collaboration we did with a fast food chain in Sweden who are really pushing sustainable topics. And basically we made games for them, both digital and physical, to give away with the equivalent of Happy Meal, if you may. And in this case, we both added communication and branding value to the company, because if you do good, you're really interesting for corporations. They want to collaborate with companies who do good, and they do good themselves, obviously. And the other one is the most recent one, which is a forestry company. That might sound odd, but where we made a game about sustainable forestry. And they were really interested in this. So they partnered with us. And this is actually screen dumps from last week when we got a big feature on the App Store in Northern Europe with this game. So we're kind of taking market shares from maybe the makeup apps or the not so good apps, and we're promoting positive values. I think that's it. I'm open for questions later on, but thank you very much.
Благодаря много на Кристиан.
Thank you very much, Christian. It was really interesting. What seems to be always of great interest for me as well as for the public is how diverse maybe the topics and approaches of social entrepreneurs. Only in the first session of this conference, we have already a topic of people with disabilities, environment, sustainable environment, sexual health, and education. Approaches may be also different. We had a digital approach. We also might have offline approach because Nicoletta and Elisabetta, they work also by means of offline work, no matter whether it's about visits to schools or other activities. I suggest that we open the Q&A session so that the public may ask questions, unless Sofia or Silva have quick comments after you have heard Nicoletta and Christian. But because we are running out of time, I would like to give the opportunity to the public to raise questions.
Добре, би трябвало да имаме един микрофон, който е в една от нашите доброволки, така че който иска да...
So whenever you would like to raise a question, just use the mic and briefly introduce yourself. So, good morning, everyone. Thank you very much to the lectures. I'm Sofia Yotova from Foodie Boulevard. I am responsible for the use of food as an educational tool in order to improve health. I have a question to Christian. A couple of questions, actually. How much time does it take to develop such game, hypothetically? And my second question, I use food as a context in order to develop activities and games for children in order to provide them with awareness, education about healthy food. Do you believe that this is a topic that might be good in order for a game to be developed?
It's expensive. The thing that we're doing now is pretty expensive, but you shouldn't start big. You should start small. You should do prototypes, testing. We always start with paper sketches, and we go and ask kids and teachers and show them. You don't have to develop the whole thing. And we could have a big discussion on that, because I think that's also an important way of working in a smart way. But the thing we're developing now is pretty expensive, I would say, especially if you want to cover everything that we want to cover. So, but again, so we're doing now in the testing, we're doing more like niche tests. And the other question was about food. I think it's fantastic, and actually, food it's emotional, and it's also a necessity. So depending on where you live in the world, food has different, connotations and importance. For us who have access to food, I think it's a great way of learning anything. We're actually developing another game now based on teaching math using food, to put it in a context, because think about it, food in the kitchen is all math in a way. Time, measures, and everything. In terms of food as a necessity, I also think it's a great way of learning how the world works. And it's not a coincidence that the first part in this game is about farming, which has to do with food, because they can teach you so much about how the world works.
Thank you, Christian. It's много интересна тази връзка между храна.
Yes, it's a very interesting connection between food and math.
Добре, благодаря ви. Други въпроси или...
Any other questions? Or even comments? You don't have only to ask questions. We are trying to develop and to address all these issues that will be further discussed in the afternoon about partnership with the businesses, partnership with institutions. So feel free to ask questions or just make comments. You have just to raise your hand and you will get a mic. I kindly ask you to introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Rasmus from
We work each partner. We work with businesses, and what is important with businesses is to get to know each other, to gain trust, and it means a lot of a series of meetings, of events before the partnership can start working well. So we choose brands and trademarks that we approve, that we would support ourselves in one way or another. With institutions, it is most difficult for us to work because of the red tape. Red tape, when it comes to institutions, is really huge, and there is lack of understanding of social issues. And we also work with average children, and everyone believes that they don't have problems just because they have a family and they go to school. So it's much more difficult for us to have partnerships with institutions.
Well, I would like right now to ask Silva and Sofia for some remarks. I think that Rasmus focused on something important, because we need to be very specific and even provocative. We all say that partnership is a great thing, but the reality is that real partnerships are difficult to set. So in order to create such partnership, you usually have to knock on 1,000 doors. So let's go out of our comfort zone, and it would be nice if Sofia and after that Silva tell us more about their observations regarding partnerships, how we build successful partnerships, and why sometimes partnerships fail. That is, sometimes we can learn from bad examples, so to say.
No, thank you. I think that that's a really good question, because as I was saying also, it's, I mean, everybody talks about it, but how do we do it? And I think we had some good examples here about really, Yuri was saying we have to knock on many doors, and you were saying that it's quite long conversations. And I think it's also a lot about listening. So if we don't understand the objectives of the partner, what they want to achieve as well, then it's very difficult. So you know, you can't just come and talk about, you know, this is me, this is our organization, this is what we have. To be able to find those common strengths that you have that can then align with each other, you have to really understand and listen to the objectives of the partner that you're working with. And I think with Silva was mentioning a lot of things about pride within her team and pride within her co-workers and the feeling of purpose that can be generated, but also great content that the social entrepreneurs is providing for the media outlet. So that's about, for example, when it's Reach for Change and our entrepreneurs, listening to the needs of Nova. And what is your objective, and what do you want to come out of that? And Nova listening to us and saying what kind of objectives do you have? And then, as I said, if you go back to my slide, I think it's very important to define that common objective, and then to say how we're going to measure those results, so that we have reviews and that we have continuous dialogue, so that we don't you know, glide away from each other. I think that that's quite important, and that's just on the corporate side. So I'm going to leave the foundational institutional side to later, because I think we'll address it later on.
Well, I would like to tell you some things that may give answer to this question. With the initiative Bulgarian Christmas, where Nova Television was a partner from the very beginning, partnership was easy, or has been easy, because with the money raised through this initiative, medical equipment is bought. And the best Bulgarian doctors take a decision. There is a specific committee, representatives of the presidency of Nova Television and Bulgarian National Television. an agreement is signed, and very rarely, almost never, there is any conflict. Decisions are unanimous. And partnership is very smooth. But with our initiative, and I say our initiative because from the very beginning we have been operating hand in hand with Reach for Change, there have not been problems. I think you can ask Yuri himself whether there has been any time where they asked something from us and we have not done it. We have always been open to this. We operate as sister organizations or brother organizations. But where can problem appear? Where, for example, we have a problem of treating autism children with a specific type of therapy. And then I tried through my personal contacts to go to Bulgarian business people to find better premises or space, because the girl involved could not do it. This was in fact the horse therapy project. This is very specific. There's also lots of psychology in this. It's not possible for anyone to do it, but it appeared very difficult to do it. Then I have desire to support various projects under the Promianat program. When I tried to use the personal business contacts of Nova free, just in a friendly manner, it did not always work. In Bulgaria, unfortunately, there is a kind of envy amongst the business organizations saying, well, this is a Nova television initiative, so they should be doing it. Sometimes people say, well, we'll help you, and then they don't do it. Maybe the best expression to define this is professional envy. These are difficulties that we face, and that's why we try to do it with our own capacity, through our own channels. I have not come any other problems though. Thank you very much, Mrs. Zourleva, because you have focused on a huge topic. Something that we have all also considered, that is to what extent we can unite different businesses, different television channels, sometimes even competitors around a cause. It happens rarely. Well, the Bulgarian Christmas initiative is a good example, but it is supported by the president. There are other initiatives that I think can be successful if they are implemented through partnerships. I think that we are moving in the right direction. I feel that businesses are more and more getting oriented to innovative things, to measurable things, something that Sofia already mentioned. The businesses, and this is also a message to the audience, the businesses are not so much interested in donations. Of course, the charity topic is important, but it's not the leading one necessarily. Businesses are interested in social investment in projects that will be developing. For example, for every Bulgarian left invested in the Promianat projects, these projects have been able to accumulate 10 Bulgarian lefts additionally from other sources. So this looks like an investment that would allow the projects to grow and become sustainable.
My comment on your question is that it's hard to knock, and you don't have the time to knock on 1,000 doors. I mean, you might be lucky and you have to knock on some doors, but my advice is that if you work on your story, and I don't mean a made-up story, the actual story, and that's actually what Reach for Change helped us with in the beginning, to actually tell a compelling story, which is true. If you work on that, and in a way, your branding, and you try to be smart about how to communicate that brand, social media, or just, the basics, have a clear website that actually explains what you're doing. Then eventually, and if you can show some good metrics, eventually people will come to you and knock on your door. How to pronounce that? Södra Forestry Company, for instance, they called us. We didn't call them. So that's an advice for us. We need to kind of recognize the value that we are providing, not only social value, but also the value and being like attractive partners for brands and companies and corporations.
Thank you.
Please introduce yourself. I'm Danielle Delibashe from Smile for Africa Foundation. On several occasions, it was mentioned how difficult it is to knock on the doors, how uncertain you are whether the door will be open, and knocking on 1,000 doors may mean that only 10 will open the doors and only one will become a partner. So I agree with Christian fully that the best way to do is to make the businesses open the door and invite us. It will be more productive. So I have a question probably to Christian, because he has experience in this area. Is there any methodology? Is there any other way to make businesses, apart from our personal stories and our own personal contacts with specific businesses, maybe through people who we know, make them introduce us to the businesses? To sum it up, how can we make the businesses open the door and invite us? Do you have any examples? Well, that's a very difficult question. You're asking for the recipe for happiness. But probably this is a question not only to Christian, but to everyone on this panel, because we have representatives of the businesses in the person of Mrs. Zourleva, but Sofia and Nicoleta will probably also join us. First, Christian.
I would be lying if I would tell you that we have a proper methodology, but I think from experience, and honestly, we're not very good at that. But if you can show metrics, that's a great way of communicating, especially with business people, corporations, because they need metrics to relate to. And my other advice is, as I said before, have a kind of consistent and marketing or branding strategy and work with it. Maybe not on a day-to-day basis if you don't have the resources, but at least on a week-to-week basis. So you build your brand, you tell your stories, so it trickles down and the network gets to know about it. I don't know if that's a good recipe, but that's how we work.
Mrs. Zourleva, would you like to add something else to how to make businesses to support us? Well, I don't have a specific recipe. Things happen, and although it may be a cliche, but when you believe in your project, maybe one and the same door will not open 3 times in a row, but maybe it will open on the 4th or on the 5th time you knock on it. 4 or 5 years ago, I myself did not believe that the Promianata project will become so great. We didn't expect so many good projects. We didn't expect so many applicants. By the way, the applicants themselves did not really believe a lot. They came over, they wondered whether it would work. But gradually it worked, and now we have more projects and better projects. So my personal project, and it has nothing to do with Nova TV, is don't get up. That's my advice. Thank you, Mrs. Zourleva. Sofia Breitholtz earlier said the first problem is to find a problem, but the next one is to keep this partner, to retain the partner. And cases of long-term partnership in Bulgaria are rather are few, maybe because focus changed within the businesses or within the institutions. But when you have long-term partnership, as is in the case with Nova TV, a 5-year project, well, this allows you to expand. So we have to focus not only on how to find the partner, but also how to retain the partner, how to grow the partnership. Sofia, maybe you will give us some receipts.
Well, first of all, also, I think it depends a little bit where you are in your stage of development. I think, Christian, you were talking about that quite a lot also. You know, choosing the correct partners for your journey, where you are on your journey. Are you early stage, or are you seeking more investment? So what Reach for Change sees is that the entrepreneurs that we invest in are quite early stage, and we want to get them investment ready to secure other partners. And what do we see, what kind of capacity do we need to build within those entrepreneurs to become investment ready? Part of it is about storytelling, being able to be very clear about what is the problem you're trying to achieve and why is your solution unique and how can your solution really have effect. And so how can we have effect? We need KPIs. We need to be able to track the social impact. We need to have numbers, because you need to have, you know, the investment will come if somebody is seeing that you're providing results. And if you're not yet a viable, sustainable business, at least you can show that you're having a social impact. And then we also want to see that the organizations have an ambition to grow and to scale, and a reasonable plan and a timeline for how to scale. And those things will bring you, when we also connect two different networks, will bring you hopefully your first partnership or your first customer, and that will build your credentials to achieve more. And then we're on to the bit that Yuri was talking about. How do we then retain our partnerships? That's another question. But yeah.
Let me just add something, because I'm a member of the managing board of TELUS International Canadian Foundation. It is also a charity foundation. So whenever we have a meeting of the board of directors, we also allocate certain amounts of funds. Some of the projects that have been supported by Reach for Change were also discussed during the meeting of the board of directors of this organization. At first, we thought that it is not necessary to provide them with additional funding, but I managed to persuade them to consider additional funding because they have already shown results. What my 12 partners noticed is, and they include prominent bankers and people in the business, what I noticed is that what was most important for them when they voted for a given project was that the projects that have already been financed by Reach for Change have given results. They have seen the results. They can. These are results that can be seen and justified. It's more difficult with businesses and than the media. So when it comes to financing of projects, this is something that we noticed, that what was most important for businesses is the fact that the project gave results. They could have just said, yeah, you already received financing, you don't need more. But they were impressed by the results achieved. Thank you very much. Yes, we do not have a recipe, but what helps us is visibility. We are good at communication. We have great vision. And even not us, but people who benefit from our vision, from what we offer, they have called them great. We have managed to tell our story well. And apart from visibility, we also have the metrics, just like Christian mentioned. We didn't have them at the beginning, but we started with a lot of motivation, a lot of enthusiasm, and that basically this is how we gain support from our business partners. They believe that we will perform what we promised. We had a recent meeting with potential business partners, and they said, yeah, you have set up your own social network. And we said, oh, yeah, it turns out that we have our social network. And this is what helps us a lot. The fact that it is just a combination of different aspects. Just like Christian, we do not have the resources to knock on 1,000 doors. That's why we select carefully which doors to knock on. We do careful research, and we feel that they might be interested in sexual education, sexual health. Only then we connect them. Those potential partners that connect with us because we have a value and we have recognition. Some of them we have achieved some partnership with some of them, but with others we have turned them down because it is important to consider from the very beginning that whether we would be able to work with this partner from a logistical and a strategic point of view, and also whether we are ready to morally connect with this brand. One more question only. A brief question and brief answers. So, good morning, Ivailo Bonev. I'm the founder of Technocrats Educational Center. Thank you very much for believing in us, because we took part in our project of a change this year. I have a comment rather than a question with regard to financing. I believe that one of the major challenges facing social entrepreneurs is that they should not consider themselves as victims. They shouldn't believe that they necessarily should receive something because they have a good cause. I think that this is a huge risk, and many social entrepreneurs fall prey to this risk. Obviously, the society and the media, they want to see young, active people who are fighting for what they believe in instead of just victims. We have a very good saying in Bulgaria about the fact that we have to find a way, we have to find a solution because we believe in our cause, and we have to persuade people that we are good at what we do. I know that social entrepreneurs, especially when it comes to grave areas such as children with disabilities or sexual education classes. It's difficult to work in these areas, but when you show that you believe in your cause, then we might have very strong partnerships, long-term partnerships. Otherwise, when you just get financing because you have presented yourself as a victim, this does not contribute to a sustainable partnership. It doesn't lead to a sustainable change. Thank you. I think that this is a perfect end to this first discussion. If you would like to add just final remarks, I believe that all of us agree with what you just said, your last comment. We will also sum up everything that we have heard during the panels. Now we'll have half an hour of coffee break, and then we'll continue with Irina Vasilevska from Telenor, Grzegorz Konieczny from IGN Bank. We'll have representatives of businesses as well as also good social entrepreneurs from Bulgaria and Lithuania. Will continue to talk about partnership. Thank you.